Good afternoon, Rotarians. Happy Thursday. Good to see everybody in person. This is really weird, I have to admit. A real life in-person meeting, and thought the day would never come, but here we are. So great to see everyone in person and on Zoom. We've got a big screen here in front of us to watch our program on, so should go off without a hitch. Let's see, would anyone volunteer to lead us in the pledge? We have a volunteer, Bob.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thanks, Bob. I forgot my chiefs up here. To make sure I get things in the right order here. I'm not used to this in-person stuff, but looking forward to getting used to it. Oh, it isn't? Can you hear me? I think it's on, but maybe it's just not real loud. Well, I'll try and talk loud. I think most of what you'll hear today is going to come from the speakers over there. So hopefully everyone can hear me well enough to get the gist of things. So this is hybrid meeting number 1. It would have been Zoom meeting number 51. So I'm glad we're moving in a new direction. So before we get into things, I guess we ought to introduce our guests. I see we have a few guests here in the room. Diane?
Yes, we have guests from the Portland Rotary, and Ken, they're not really guests, they're visiting Rotarians.
Well, we're both. Ken and Carol Branson, and we have lived in Portland for 6 years. Before that, we lived in California. I was a town called Clovis, California. But now we have recently acquired a lovely place in the same complex.
Shoreline Ridge.
Nice.
And in the parking lot learned that we were all Rotarians. So we got invited to join us today.
Well, we're glad you joined us and welcome. Good to see you here. Well, we have kind of a lengthy program today, so I want to leave plenty of time for our speaker, and we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Even though it's not a Zoom meeting, I still have a few things from today in history, if I can see it without my glasses. Today in history, May 6, 1915, future Baseball Hall of Fame slugger Babe Ruth hits his first MLB home run. He pitched 12 frames in Boston Red Sox 4-3 extra innings loss to the New York Yankees. 1960, US President Eisenhower signed Civil Rights Act of 1960. In 2002, entrepreneur Elon Musk found SpaceX almost 20 years ago, which is kind of surprising. So I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to our Sergeant at Arms, Bob.
Is it possible to introduce our Students of the Month before you do that? We have some guests online.
Oh, sure. Let's go ahead and do that first.
Hey, Landon, open your picture up so they can see you.
Awesome. I want to introduce, this will be our last month of Students of the Month. And so I'm really excited to have Lauren Bobo Schisler and Landon Goebel here. Wonderful students that will wrap up our year for the class of 2021.
All right. Well, thank you. Welcome. And we'll look forward to hearing from them in a couple weeks, I suppose. So with that, before we start our program, I'm going to turn things over to Bob.
Hi, Bob. Hello there, Rotarians. Good to see you. Wow, we got some special people here. John Baker, he hasn't been around for a while. Howard Adams. Who else? I know somebody said hello to Tiana, but she's never around. She promised me back in March that she'd make the next meeting, and she hasn't made a meeting since. But I'm not keeping track. And Laura, I see you're in there someplace.
Hi, Bob.
Yes, you are there. Hey, where's Mary Kay? She hasn't been around either.
She's been busy with work and been pulled into other meetings. Is she there with you guys in person?
No, she's not.
I'll have to give her grief. I don't know where she is.
There are people here that are asking me if they can donate some money for her to tell her secret. And, you know, I really can't say because I'm sworn to secrecy. So. But anyway, I guess we'll see what happens. You might tell her I'm looking for her though.
I will. I'll let her know. I'm supposed to talk to her later on today.
There you go. Have we got any happy dollars out there in Happy World? Diane?
I am $5 happy because my grades are due at 5 o'clock today, and my students did awesome. And tax season is going to be over May 17th, so I'm $5 happy.
Wow. Hey, now you're working at Washington State University.
I am.
I'm just curious, are they following the world leading beavers and requiring vaccines now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So they caught on to what Oregon
They
State
did.
started.
They did. And Bob, I have to show you something. I need a minute, please.
Hey, Bob, can we get you to go up to the microphone?
Oh, sure.
Bob.
Now what? What?
Beavers.
Oh,
Beavers.
I can't even start to see that from here. Hey, way to go. I'm happy for you. Well, good.
I have a granddaughter who's a beaver.
And you're $5 happy?
Yes, sir.
What about the granddaughter?
Well, she's not here. I'll be $25 happy.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice of you to volunteer like that. Wow. Don't get much of that. Happy dollars. Anybody?
Bob, I like to announce my daughter decided where she's going to go to college. So
Where's she going to go?
Well, we're pretty proud of that, but partly I want to donate $50 to my Paul Harris. She's going to be a doc. Part of that money is to entice more rivalry and keep that going. So pretty happy about that. I'm sorry on a personal note, but I'm happy for my daughter.
I am too. Than any other happy dollars. Hopefully there's nothing like that. Anybody get a new bowling ball or a new car or anything?
Bob, I have a happy buck.
Oh yeah, what do you got?
Yeah, so my daughter got her second vaccination yesterday, which means that in 2 weeks I can actually see her without a mask on, which we really haven't been able to do for the last year. So I'm very happy. $25 to my Paul Harris.
Well, thank you very much. A little bit on that, just out of curiosity. Raise your hand if you've been vaccinated. Oh wow, look at that. Now, Mr. Wienert over here, he doesn't have his hand up, but I've got the inside information. He has been vaccinated. Well, good. Congratulations. Now, where were we? Happy dollars, new cars, things like that.
Bob, it's Laura.
Oh, hi, Laura.
I'm $25 happy towards my Paul Harris. We signed officially on our house and we are homeowners.
Oh, wow. When's the big house opening party?
Hopefully this summer.
Bring a lot of white wine.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any other happy dollars for maybe a new car or something? Dustin.
Well, I am very happy. So my wife and I and our kiddos completed a wall on our property. It was a huge ordeal. Started in the fall. Road and Driveway Company brought a lot of huge, beautiful blocks to our property. They sat there all fall, and now they are installed. The fence is up. So I am $25 happy for our Paul Harris.
Well, good. Hey, we got some place we can do some graffiti now. Huh? Yeah. Hey, let's all get together. Sandy, are you in?
It's called a mural, Bob.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry. Call it what you want. Well, anyway, Sonia.
I
I'm going to pay a $5 penalty because somebody said that they wanted $15 worth of 50/50, and I was so excited that I didn't write it down.
Yeah, me too, yeah. No, I didn't.
Put my $5 to Sandy.
I'll match that.
All right.
Okay. Any other happy dollars? Rob.
I just want to recognize John Zagel today, $25 to his holiday. He came early, obviously, and set up all the.
Hey, John. Whoa. Without John. Any other happy dollars, like for a new car?
All right.
Boy, we got a lot of guilty people here. Yeah, oh yeah.
He bought our daughter her first car this week.
Oh, what'd we get? Jaguar? Oh, well, good. Well, congratulations. Wow. Everybody still remember their first car?
76
Oh, yeah, those are fun. New cars, anybody? Oh, Amy.
The only reason I'm doing this is because I bought an electric car.
Oh, you did? Oh. Well, by golly.
I joined the Tesla revolution, and after a lot of convincing. No, I'm really excited because this one has long range. I just feel awesome in it because it's like flowers are coming out of my car when I'm driving.
You know, I'm going to give you an option here.
What?
Well, let's talk here just for a second. I know we're in a hurry, but hey, rather than a fine, why don't you give each one of us a ride?
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you sure you can handle it?
You just got fined. That settles that.
I will just a $5 happy that I am no longer having carbon dioxide.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Yeah, that looks cool. All right, well, good for you. Congratulations. Anybody else? Well, let's get on with this. Freddie, you sounds like you got a pretty busy agenda, so take care of it.
All right.
Which way? You want to dance?
Either way, Bob. All right. Thanks, Bob. Great job. As always, good to see you live and in person today. So I think we have, for those on Zoom wondering, I think we have about 28 people in person, and it looks like about 22 on Zoom. So that's a pretty good turnout, probably the best in about a year. So a round of applause for that. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Julie to introduce our program.
Thank you, Fred. Everyone hear me? It feels kind of wonky to be talking to the screen and there's a room full of people. So let me know if you can't hear me. So I am proud today to introduce John Fick, who is our current Vice President and Manager of Columbia Bank's Fraud Investigation Unit. He's a seasoned and dedicated financial crimes industry professional. He's worked for over 15 years as a financial crimes investigator and enterprise fraud manager for a variety of financial institutions across the US. He has a passion for learning and training industry professionals and new and current investigators. He's a longtime member of the International Association of Financial Crimes Investigators, and he's currently a board member for the Greater Puget Sound Financial Fraud and Identity Theft Task Force. He's earned both the Certified Financial Crimes Investigator, Certified Fraud Examiner, and Certified Economic Crime Forensic Examiner designations. Boy, John, you got a lot of titles there. That was a lot to say. He holds a master's degree in legal studies from Northeastern University School of Law and a BS degree with honors in organizational security and management from the University of Phoenix. So help me welcome John Fick.
Oh boy. All right. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a Lovely presentation for everybody today. So, Julie, first, I want to say thank you for having me. I love these opportunities to be able to speak to the community, Columbia Bank members, any clients, whether they're a part of our organization or just the community in general that we serve. The information that I like presenting on, obviously, is fraud related, which is my total background. Because fraud has an impact on not just financial institutions, but real life people. We all work hard for our money, whether we're running a small business, whether we're just employed through, any organization. There's a lot of fraudsters out there trying to, get our money, basically. Easiest way to say it, they're trying to manipulate us. They target a lot of different people, whether it's small businesses, whether it's elder exploitation type of activity, or whether they find a check laying in a parking lot or in somebody's car that they decide to steal. So there's a lot of fraud that's going on within our country and actually globally. And of course, the pandemic doesn't make it any better. And honestly, it could make it worse. So a lot of things we're going to discuss today is small business related. A lot of people are suffering. They're either out of a job or their spouse or significant other is out of a job due to the pandemic. They lost money, one way or the other. They became sick. They have a lot of expenses for hospital bills, you name it, anything can happen. So that can affect us in a couple different ways. It can affect small businesses and it can affect our society. And most importantly, it's definitely affecting our unemployment as it comes through the state. There's a ton of unemployment fraud, which people are just living off of that right now. And some of them are not getting jobs, as we've heard today with some members of the bank as well. So today this is probably a good hour presentation. I do talk fast sometimes. If there is a question, please do not hesitate to wave, scream, yell, flag me down somehow. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions as we move through this. Some of it I'll move a little bit quicker through it, and then I want to touch on a lot of different pieces of things that are kind of common in the industry right now for you guys. So again, my name is John Fick. I appreciate you having me here. I am the Vice President Fraud Investigations Manager for Columbia Bank. I've been here for about 5 years. I'm originally born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, lived in Dallas for a while, and then moved out here to the state of Washington. And a lot of it was for career purposes as I grow within my career, and my passion, just keeps growing and growing and growing. I love doing these presentations, so I hope you get something out of it. And you see my contact information right here on the screen, my email address. Any questions ever, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm here to help wherever I can. So today we're going to talk about some business email compromise situations, some check fraud, employee fraud, and then some solutions that financial institutions have to be able to assist our clients, whether they're small business or a consumer. Then we're going to talk about how to protect your financial bank accounts, and then give you some resources as well. Some of you may be looking at the screen and looking at this little triangle that has a couple different words on it: pressure, rationalize, opportunity, and then in the middle it's fraud. This is what we call a fraud triangle. Why does fraud happen? Fraud happens because people need money. So there's 3 components to that. First, the opportunity, whether working for a business or a small business or even a bank or any type of organization. They have the opportunity and the means, because a lot of them potentially could be around money, cash handling business, or they know where the checkbooks are, etc. So the opportunity is there. They rationalize, oh, this business is doing great. I'm not doing great, so I need some money. They can write it off. They can get insurance for it. They basically make up a reason why they say it's okay to commit bank fraud. And then the pressure. I'm losing my house. Oh my God, I need my rent for this month, otherwise I'm going to get evicted. It pushes people, even people that are not, technically going to be criminals. It pushes them because we try to fight to stay alive every day in this crazy obstacle, what we call life. You know, even myself, for example, my wife's permanently disabled. She's okay, but she's no longer working. You know, just think about it from that standpoint. If you're struggling for money, your other person's sick, maybe can't get the help they need because of that reason. So what do? They rationalize it. Hey, these banks have a ton of money. Why not use their money? They'll be okay without it. It's not going to hurt them. And you know, hey, we have the opportunity. We're here. The money's right in front of us. We just need to commit this act to go get it. So we call that the fraud triangle. I like trying to get into people's mind and understand why they do what they do and what makes them kind of tick. So those three components, you add them all together with that type of mindset, fraud is a high likelihood that's going to happen. So business email compromise has just a quick show of hands, as much as I can see on this little screen. Is anybody familiar with a business email compromise? I don't think I see any hands. Am I correct? Okay. So good. One thing that I love doing is learning a minimum one thing every day, and this is something you want to keep your eye out for, especially if you're running a business or a part of an organization. So we're going to talk about business email compromise real quick. What is a business email compromise? It's a sophisticated scam targeting businesses working with foreign suppliers and or businesses that regularly perform wire transfers, payments. The scam is carried out by compromising a legitimate business email compromises accounts through social engineering, computer intrusion techniques to conduct unauthorized transfer of funds, whether it's a wire or an ACH. So basically, we got some cyber fraud going on here. Somehow, some way, some unknown fraudster was able to get enough information to be able to wiggle their way into your Microsoft Outlook or Google or your Google email, whatever email platform you have. There's enough they have enough information to be able to, I want to use the word hack, but basically have access to your email account. A lot of times they'll sit there for maybe a week, 2 weeks to see what kind of emails are coming in. How are the people talking? Who's emailing? A lot of these fraudsters focus on, they focus on specific type of folks, which we'll get into here shortly. Most victims report using wire transfers as a common method of transferring funds for a business purpose. However, there are some victims also reporting the use of checks as a common method of payment as well. The fraudsters will use this method mostly associated with their victim businesses' normal practices. So imagine you get an email, you're at work, usually pay this vendor for whatever services, and you get an email from that person saying, hey, I know, you owe me for XYZ. Forget the previous wire instructions I sent you so you could wire me funds. Here's a new list. We changed banks. Here you go. It sounds really, normal. People do change banks. It does happen. That's kind of how it starts, and there's some particulars you want to pay attention to as you move through as you get these emails. You really just have to understand what you're reading and think about it. Does it make sense? In 2020, IC3 is an organization. It's the FBI. It's basically where you file a police report for an electronic fraudulent type of transaction like this business email compromise. So in 2020, the FBI reported 19,369 email accounts compromises, whether it's a business email account or a personal email account. Adjusted losses were over $1.8 billion. This is just the United States. So this email intrusion is a huge problem right now, especially with title companies. It's real easy because title companies are wiring money all over the place. In 2020, again, IC3, the FBI received an increase of number of these types of complaints related to identity theft and funds being converted over into cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is something that is growing, and of course, it's used for fraudulent purposes. In reality, there's no regulations around cryptocurrency, so it's pretty easy to commit a crime with it. A lot of times, it's used for extortion, a tech support, or a romance scam. What I mean by tech support, I don't know how many of you guys get text messages, or you're on your computer and you get a pop-up saying, saying it's, let's just say McAfee, for example. Oh, hey, there's a problem with your computer. You need to pay, we're going to refund you because our system wasn't working properly. So we're going to pay you $300. And then all of a sudden you allow that person into your computer and then gets on to your online banking, for example, and transfers money unknown to you. And then they tell you, oops, I sent $3,000 worth versus 300. You need to return that money back to me. It was an accident. I'm going to get fired for it, et cetera, et cetera. And then they tell you how to basically give them the money, whether it's the form of a gift card, whether it's a form of writing you a check or wiring funds out. It's a temple. This happens every single day. I can count literally every day, at least minimum of 3 to 4 times, people have fallen for this type of tech support type of scam. Romance scam is another type of scam that's really prevalent when it comes to business email compromise. Basically, someone claims they met somebody online. They're long lost love over in Nigeria. They're in the military. And they're trying to come back to be with you, but they don't, their money's tied up because of the country that they're in. So they ask you to give money, send money here so they can get paid to be able to come back home. Basically all it is falling, in love with somebody that who they believe is true, and they're not taking advantage of them. That's what we call a romance scam. So again, and a lot of times it's identity theft. There's a lot of crimes that wrap around this. It's not just one specific thing. Money gets floated from one person to the other, to the other, to the other. Eventually going overseas to fund, could be terrorist financing or any other types of illegal acts, getting people, rich. So the FBI back in 2018 actually created a department called a RAT, Recovery Assistance Team. And I'm not going to spend much time on this, but basically this team goes out and tries to recover the funds that are fraudulent because of this type of activity. We work with them quite a bit when these situations happen. Right now I'm chasing about 280,000 down from a foreign country. It's not always fun. So we kind of need the help of the FBI or, federal government for us to be able to assist our clients. Some other statistics: wire fraud is the main generator for business email compromises. And I'm going to go through the anatomy of a business email compromise so you kind of understand a little bit better. So wire transfers are the biggest, then ACHs and down the line. Departments that are most vulnerable that are targets. So you see here, treasury departments of an organization. Then we have the procurement, sourcing, CEO, COO, CFO, etc. A lot of times the CEO, the COO, CFO, all the COs, they're on a public website. So if they're on a public website, they already know who this person is. They know where they work. There's a lot of information people divulge on websites that can allow anybody to get in to any secured area that we have. Banks test it every single day to make sure that nobody can hack into our systems, whether it's here, whether it's anywhere. It's not that difficult. So we really got to be careful what we put out there on the internet. And we'll go through some more later. So let's talk quickly about the anatomy of a business email compromise. There's 4 steps. First step, we call the fish. Basically, these fraudsters will do a mass emailing to a broad base of folks. It's typically spam in nature. It typically goes to AP managers, CEOs, CFOs. And then they'll ask, let's just say they use the email address of the CFO. This fraudster is then going to email, say, the AP manager and says, hey, are you at your desk? I need you to take care of a wire for me. I'm tied up, I'm busy. Can you take care of this for me? That AP manager thinks, oh, my CFO is telling me to do this. This must be okay. Let me just go ahead and do it. No one's none the wiser. So there we go. So that happens, and they're, back and forth. Okay, where do you want me to send it? That whole type of activity. So in the background, of all email addresses, even like Google or Microsoft or any of the email domains that we utilize, there's background information called headers. What a header tells you is basically where's this email coming from? So they could use my email and send an email from my email address sitting over in Germany, Russia, Africa, anywhere. So basically they're taking control of my email address from anywhere in the world. And that's typically what it shows when companies or a person gets compromised due to a business email compromise. There's spam techniques that allow the fraudster to know if this email was ever viewed by a recipient. And if so, will it generate more attempts? They basically can see you typing anything. They can see exactly what you're doing on a computer when this. So the first part is the phish. They're trying to catch someone to respond, say, hey, I'm at my desk. How can I help you? Let me take care of whatever you need because you're my CFO. The second is the disguise. There's two things that can happen here. And in this, what I'm discussing here is they created a mimic domain name for the company and sets up an email to kind of match the CFO, the CEO, CFO, whoever his name. So in this example, I used Bill Gates at Microsoft.com. Well, if you notice, Microsoft is not spelled correctly. At the end, the third letter, the O, is actually a 0. It doesn't look like a traditional O. How many people looking at email address or emails really pay attention to the domain name of who's sending what? You know, if my wife emails me, I know what her email address, so I take a look, and I see like a part of it, I'm like, oh, that's my wife. Don't look any further. That's human nature. We focus on the content. The fraudster could also locate a personal email address for the CEO, CFO, such as a Gmail, and then they can create a mimic Gmail account as well. Bill Gates at gmail.com. Maybe it hasn't been used. Change it up depending on the availability. Good hackers will also look for open mail relays within the real company's Exchange server. So they get into the Exchange server, which is a little bit easier way to be able to compromise that email Exchange server. So it's all about disguising who they are, acting as the person who you believe is your CEO or employee of the bank. And then what happens? Then we get to the fraud. We start asking for the details, the procedure for the domestic wire transfers. In order to confirm this target, please send a wire, or if another employee that they should be targeting. Jen, will you be able to process a wire transfer for me today before your meeting? They're going to know your schedule because they're inside your email, calendar, etc. So these fraudsters will push to get this done in a quick way. The interesting thing with this is a lot of times when you read these emails, you can tell that they never went to school in the United States. They speak very broken English. So their email actually reads very horribly grammatical issues. It's pretty easy to tell. So like if my wife emailed me and I saw a sentence that was not grammatically correct, I'd start scratching my head because my wife tells me when I miss a period or whatnot. So I know my employees, my wife, I know how they talk. They try to mimic it as best they can, but there's always errors. There's always grammatical issues. And so a lot of times they really just don't make sense. But when you read the email, it's part of our psyche. When you're reading something, you're putting words in there that are not really there because you want it to make sense. So you're reading through it saying, okay, this is what they want me to do. Oh, they missed a word or two. You're just reading it as you think it's supposed to be read. Not all the time. I mean, we all read an email, but it's harder to catch when we're not looking for something. They'll push for everything to be basically expedited. They'll check multiple times throughout the day to make sure it was done. They want confirmation, etc. They try to use common lingo or technology. Hey, bill it to the expenses GL or to the training GL, something that's accounting related to make it sound like they know what they're talking about. So that's when it all happens and starts to go. So then it's set up and then you have the money movement where the wire beneficiary is usually a money mule. So that person is unsuspecting of any fraud either, but they're falling for a different type of scam that they're expecting money to get because of whatever their scam entails. So money mules are responsible for sending money to the next mule, knowingly or unknowingly. Typical money mule activity, like I said earlier, romance scam, or other different types of confidence scams. Whether it's the tech support, whether it's romance, whether it's mystery shopper, or hey, I won the lottery in Canada, even though I've never been there and I've never played the lottery. Unfortunately, you know, people do think these are legitimate. Mystery shoppers, short-term visa mules. This process of the money movement really hurts law enforcement because the money's moved multiple different places. And as a financial crimes investigator or law enforcement, the main duty of our job is to follow the money. So if that money is moved from location to location to location, number one, it slows us down. Number two, it makes it really hard to follow and really hard to recover if it's all fraud as well. So when that happens, a lot of times it's too late to try to recover the money because typically within 24 hours, that money's gone. That fraudster, as soon as it hits their account, you know, from whoever's sending it to them, they're yanking it out. So it's virtually impossible to recover any funds from a wire transfer. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen. I've been doing this a long time. So, you know, some of us do have some good skills to be able to get that done, know who to call, but it all depends on the timing that the bank's notified or law enforcement's notified, et cetera. So that's the anatomy of a business email compromise in a nutshell. That's kind of what happens. So let's look at some red flags to this so you can actually identify a potential business email compromise. And, you know, business email compromises, it doesn't solely focus on small business. It can also happen to you as a normal, you know, regular citizen of this country. First, the greeting appears to be unusual. For example, emails the employee using a short version of your name. Now, these are red flags. These are not saying, yes, it's fraud. But when you have multiple of them, you know, typically your gut's going to tell you, this ain't right. So somebody's name is Deborah. Say, hey, Deb, how you doing? But you really don't go by that. Something's off there, potentially. The email address of the originator is misspelled or additional letter, like I showed you in that Bill Gates at Microsoft.com. A letter may be changed or a letter may be added. Maybe you have two L's in your name, like the word misspelled here. Maybe they add a third L, hoping that your eyes will glance right over it and not catch it. The email message asks additional questions like, what are your account balances? The initial email message indicates an emergency to attempt to create a sense of urgency, which can lead to shortcutting of processes and procedures. If my CEO came and told me, hey, I need you to send this wire immediately, a lot of people feel that, oh God, I have to do it because this is CEO. You know, he signs my paycheck. I need to do what he tells me to do. I don't want to be insubordinate. A lot of times we need to ask questions, and it's not insubordination. It's not, you know, not doing the right thing. We need to do the right thing. We need to protect the business. We're protecting our you know, CEO here. And what's the easiest way to do that without saying, you know, if you get an email from your CEO, you're not just going to say, no, I ain't doing it. I'd be picking up the phone call and saying, hey, did you just want to confirm that you sent me an email to wire out this money to XYZ? I'm going to tell you, if it is a business email compromise, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Happens every day. We get, you know, in a month period of time, honestly, we get probably about 10 of them. And a lot of times there's a lot of money shoved out the door because it's typically not $1,000 or $2,000. We're talking about 50,000 or over. I've dealt with ones that are $1 million. Some additional tips to avoid business email compromises. Education. Education is critical. That's why I'm here today, is education. We all don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything, but what I know, I want to share. Because it's when you deal with financial crimes and you lose a lot of money, it's gut wrenching, it's horrible. It can have an effect on your life, your health, etc. Protect your online environment. Know what's secured, know what's not secured. Be careful what you click on. Make sure your business has proper firewalls. Make sure your business has good encryption, things that'll minimize a fraudster from accessing your environment. Partner with your bank to prevent unauthorized transactions or activity. A big critical one is use alternative communication channels to verify significant requests. If you're a CEO, CFO, or somebody in a higher position tells you to do something via email, make a phone call. It's not going to hurt nothing. Just want to confirm and verify, especially in this environment today. And these business email compromises, they're growing every year. It's more and more and more. Last year in 2019, you know, a lot of losses were about 1.7 billion. In 2020, it was 1.8. Terrified to see what it's going to be, you know, at the end of 2021. Be wary of requests marked urgent or confidential. You know, it comes within your organization. We already know it's confidential. Watch out for the urgent. Somebody might be trying to push you to step aside and maybe forget a process that you're supposed to typically normally take. Consider additional IT and financial security processes, some sort of verification process. Make some procedures. Be careful what you post on social media and the company's website. You know, it's just like, you know, any Facebook, once you put it out there, it's out there. Even if you delete it, it's still out there. So you really got to be careful what you post out there, because any information is good information for any fraudsters. Plus, they can take that information, go to the dark net. And I'm going to tell you right now, with all these data breaches going on, a lot of our personal information is out there. They're not looking out for us. We need to look out for ourselves. So be careful what you do on social media. Be careful what information you put out there in the cloud that everybody can somehow get access to it. Lastly, always remember, it's nearly impossible to recall a wire, trace any money, and track the recipients. When these happen, I don't necessarily worry about tracking the recipients. Number one, the FBI will take care of that piece. My main concern is tracing that money and recovering that money from my client. They got caught up in a scam. They sent out a lot of money. What I'm going to do as a fraud investigations manager or even an investigator within an organization is assist my customer. The only problem is, since you're the one that initiated the wire, the business initiated it, that business is going to take the loss if the bank can't recover those funds. But most banks, I know Columbia Bank will always try to help our customers out in fraudulent situations, whether or not the bank's going to take a loss or the customer's going to take a loss. We're here, you know, we're here for you. And I've been like that throughout my whole career. If you are a victim of a business email compromise, you know, two different ways, but if you have to go to like a business email compromise, go to ic3.gov. You're more than welcome to later on tonight while you're watching TV, doing whatever you're doing, pop up ic3.gov. There's a ton of great information on there, some press releases, a lot of the same stuff that I'm preaching about today, protections. But if you do fall for a business email compromise, there's a lot of information that you can provide them. The more information you provide them, the better. And a lot of that information is on the right-hand side of the screen here. So this is great information to be able to provide to them to assist. If it's, you know, a phishing email where some tax documents got compromised, whether it's a business email compromise or any other type of unauthorized access, you can always reach out to phishing@irs.com. Make sure to, you know, notify someone within the federal government so they can try to minimize that fraud. And even if, say, you don't take a loss on it, there probably is somebody that is taking a loss, number one, and it's connected to about minimum five different situations. So it's always good to report the crime, even if you didn't take a loss. My personal philosophy is, if you're a victim, whether I took a loss or not, I'm going to report it, because it could help not just me, but other folks in my community around the country. All right, so I'm going to pop over here to business check fraud. So is my business a target? It's a simple answer, yes. It's widely believed that businesses are primary targets of criminal check fraud activity. There's a ton of organized crime rings that do counterfeiting, alter checks that are stolen through the mail. That's the biggest thing. Is you got them big blue mailboxes out there that, you know, people will have a stick, they'll put some sticky on a rope, stick it down, pull out the mail. Next thing you know, they could have checks that you've written to your vendors or your payrolls that are going out to your employees, etc. They take those checks, create other counterfeit checks, cash them all. They're getting rich. Your employees don't get paid. Your vendors don't get paid. You have to pay them again. So check fraud is still happening. Yes, people still write checks. It is not going away, especially with the change in, you know, debit cards now or credit cards. They have the chip in them now. That has deterred a lot of fraud and shifted the focus back to check fraud. Should I know what is in the Uniform Commercial Code called UCC? I would. This is going to determine who is responsible for the fraud. Businesses must play a role to ensure that their checks are secure. I make sure my bank account's secure. Nobody knows my account number besides me and my wife. You want to keep it that way, even if you trust an employee that's been with you for 20, 30 years. Go back to the that fraud triangle. Things change over the year. I'm not saying don't trust anybody. I'm saying trust but verify. You want to make sure that you're protecting your own assets. So how do fraudsters obtain client information? Including like at your business. We got mail theft, stealing mail from mailboxes, car break-ins. My favorite, office creeps. Working in pairs, fraudsters will, you know, they'll target a company, try to go work for them, get hired, just so they can steal. And then lastly, something that I would never do is dumpster dive. We throw away a lot of personal information. You get check statements, go in the mail. Make sure you shred. Make a party out of it. Have one day a month that you shred everything. I want to kind of go through these quickly. These are just check fraud types as it relates to check fraud. You got altered items, which is a legitimate check that is issued by a valid person. The payee or unknown criminal who has illegally obtained the check modifies the dollar amount, payee name, and or date, then attempts to present it for payment. Counterfeits. It's an imitation of a genuine check. They're drawn on a valid bank account, valid routing number, may or may not be a precise duplication of an actual check. So basically just take a picture of another check and try to submit that as well. A lot of criminals are really, really good at counterfeiting checks these days, but it is a challenge for an organization to catch it. One movie that I would recommend called Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio. Fantastic movie. It's that activity that he did is legit, committing check fraud. I'm not going to give any punchlines away. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's really cool. To produce a counterfeit check, all I need is a valid bank account number. You don't even need a valid routing number. They don't care what bank it goes to. As long as it gets through and they get the money, the fraudsters don't care. That's how easy it is. Forgeries. Forged signatures are usually found on legitimate and unused check stock. Checks that are stolen. That's how forgeries occur. Forged endorsements. Checks are valid, they get stolen. Somebody just takes it and forges the name on the back, opens an account in their name and deposits it. Or just deposits it into their own account and the bank's none the wiser because, you know, banks don't review every single check that comes into a bank every single day. Our clients are, you know, responsible for, if you have a bank account here, you're responsible for to monitor your own bank account and let us know when fraud has occurred. So a lot of these check fraud types can slip by. A lot of banks do their best to try to identify it prior as it comes in. but every check is not monitored on a regular basis. Ordering your checks, order check stocks, order checks and deposit slips wisely. This color check stock is called a Versa check. Stay away from it. This is what a lot of fraudulent people use to create bogus checks. You can buy this type of stock just at your local Office Depot or what other type of office space that one has around them. Use a reputable source when that's recommended by your bank to purchase checks. Make sure you notify your bank, your check supplier, and your bank if a new check order has not been received within a designated amount of time, typically 2 to 3 weeks, because that means it could have been stolen through the mail, and next thing you know, you're going to have money coming out of your account that you didn't realize. I'm not really going to go over this too much, but a lot of checks do have security features that help combat counterfeiting and alterations. There's also pens out there that you can use that are supposedly helpful in identifying the same type of fraudulent activity on a check as well. Look for the watermarks. Look for any of the security features that they have on your checks. Some other tips: secure all reserve supplies of checks, deposit slips, and other banking documents in a locked facility. Always keep blank checks locked up. Limit the number of people with access to your checks. If your check falls into possession of unscrupulous employees, you could be liable for a substantial loss. Change the locks in your facility when an employee leaves your business. Never leave checks or blank records unattended in order to assist a customer. Never issue signed blank checks. You could be liable for the entire loss, the amount of that check. Make sure you fill out the checks in full. Every line, make sure you take it up. That way nobody can alter it and add something by it. When I write like the paid amount version, I cover the whole line. I'll write out $520 and then I draw a line all the way to the dollar. That way, if somebody tries to alter it, it should be identifiable. Some check fraud tips: use more secured ACH, wire, card payment methods to replace check payments. Shred. Track and investigate claims in which a customer, vendor, or client claims to have paid a bill, but your records do not indicate as such. Means it could have been stolen, altered, etc. Use positive pay services, and that's something that I'll get into here in a few minutes. Employee fraud, and I know we're running out a little bit of a time, but employee fraud. Businesses lose 5% of their annual revenue to employee fraud or abuse. Theft occurs at companies that have fewer than 150 employees. Half occurs at companies with 25 or fewer companies, or actually that's a typo, employees. Of employees have stolen from their employers at least once, 75%. 30% of business failures may be a result of an employee fraud or abuse. That's why I'm saying this happens. Fraud happens everywhere, no matter what. We're all human beings, things happen, and there is fraud or some sort of type of shrink that happens that businesses lose minimum of 5% on an annual basis.
Hey, John?
Yes.
I hate to cut you short, but we're out of time here at the Best Western, so we'll have to maybe have you back to finish the second half another time, if you wouldn't mind.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, well, I wanted to thank you very much for presenting. That was some great information. I wish we had a little more time, but we're on kind of a limited schedule. And, as a thank you for speaking to us today, we're going to vaccinate 50 children against polio in your name. So thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll come back and give us the rest, but that was some great info, so we sure appreciate it.
Hey, Freddie?
I would love to.
Freddie?
Yes.
Just 10 seconds. Just for those of you who don't think this happens in small town America, it does. Freddie and I will tell you it does. Last year, we had a real estate transaction where buyers fell to wire fraud, lost $180,000. So don't think this just happens in big cities.
Very true.
Yeah, that's a great point, Loretta. It definitely happens all over the place. So Thanks again for joining us, John. That was excellent.
Great, thank you.
With that, I'm going to call on the secretary, Jim Graham, to give us the numbers. Would you like to come up here, Jim, or go ahead?
Thank you, Freddie. We have 43 people online and in the room, and even more than that when we include guests. When we include guests, I'm counting 57. No, that's not right. Bad math. Anyway, a stellar day. Thank you, everyone, for coming and participating in the first hybrid meeting of the Rotary Club of Newport. And with that, hopefully Sonia will be able to share a screen. Oh, member incentive. Signe, when's the, it's up to something by now. Mark, what's it at right now? Signe wins. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sonia for the big wheel. The way we did the 50-50 today to let the people on Zoom participate is everyone in the room who bought into the 50-50 is also on the wheel. So this will be exciting.
All right, well, let's, so there was $120 in the pot today. So the big winner's gonna get $60. And is it going? There we go.
Fraud.
All right, Frank, you get $60.
All right. Yeah, she let me hack into her. Yeah, so I'm going to donate that 60 to Seize the Day because that's only fitting. So. Well, it was sure great to see everybody here. I guess we have our 5-way test. Would anyone like to take us out with that before we? Oh, media incentive.
Richard O'Hearn.
All right. Congrats to Richard. Let's see.
If you have service projects, please leave them by the name bag box on your way out. And we'll send out an email for people online on that.
And our next meeting next week will be Matt Bettinson with Yaquina Head Lighthouse Restoration Project. That should be another good one. So hope to see everyone back here, same time, same place next week. And anyone for this 5-way test?
I'm trying to find it.
Anyone who has it memorized?
I can do it.
All right, Diane, you're up.
The 5-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And last, is it
all right, well, before I ring the bell, I've got to say kudos to John Zagel for a great job setting this up.